Welcome back to Light the Fuse, the only Mission Impossible podcast that keeps the hits coming. You know, you can't depend on Tenet, you can't depend on Mulan, but you can depend on Light the Fuse. And we're offering people a service here, Charles, don't you think?
So I assume you're referring to all the release date delays for all these movies.
Have we had a release date delay?
Including now Top Gun 2.
Oh, God. Charles, the wound is fresh. You're bringing it up.
That actually really hurt me to my core when you texted me last night and you were like, oh no, because Top Gun 2 has now been pushed to next summer 2021, which is interesting because Mission Impossible 7 is supposed to be next November. So are those movies really going to come out within 6 months of each other, or are the missions going to now be delayed as well?
Great question, Charles. We're going to dig into that on our Patreon, so please subscribe. Patreon.com/LightTheFuse if you want to get more insight. We've got a couple of sponsors I want to bring up before we get into things, if I could. One of our sponsors, of course, is Jeremy Dillon and his podcast, My Favorite Album, where each week concert promoter Jeremy interviews a different musician, songwriter, actor, or filmmaker about the music they love and how it's influenced them and their work. He's talked to people like Rogue Nation co-writer Drew Pearce, who refuses to come on our show, Bob Odenkirk, Casey Musgraves, and even Charles and I have been on that show. So don't use that as a barometer for how good the show is. He gets much better guests than us. Trust me. This episode is also brought to you by John B. And John B., we could not do this without you. And also Real Estate Interest LLC, commercial real estate for growing companies. So if you're a growing company, you need real estate, check these guys out. They will do you right. Yeah, we've got more awesome Yagher talk. What does he talk about in this episode, Charles?
Well, just for a little context, he talks about a lot of great stuff. He does his Nicolas Cage impression, which I'm obsessed with, and I wish he did more of. Just for context, though, as we jump in here, we're continuing our talk about Sleepy Hollow, and he is talking about Rick Heinrichs and Emmanuel Lubezki and the way that they layer fog in this soundstage where they were shooting. So that's where we jump in here in the middle of the talk. And I just love talking to Kevin. So I enjoy everything. We'll dissect a little bit afterwards.
Okay, we'll be back.
They had this. I've never seen this before either. You have the smoke. You have some smoke that lays down low, some that lays middle ground or whatever. They had like 4 different layers of smoke in the woods of Sleepy Hollow. So you'd look up and there'd be the smoke that would hang high that would cover all our big lights up there. Just kind of hang high, and then about halfway down you get this little mist across. About maybe a third of the way down, and then another layer, and then there'd be ground fog that would hang down. It was just amazing.
Wow!
And you could literally walk in and then disappear into the woods. I was with a guy. We were just laughing. And he goes, "Watch this!" He just walked 30 feet away, and he was gone. Just vanished within.
That's
he'd come
amazing.
Out. Then he'd come around. He'd come out another way. It's kind of spooky, actually.
The blood in that movie is very Technicolor.
Yeah.
Red.
Yes.
Was that a reference to the Hammer movies and things
well,
like that?
Well, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. If you listen to anything that Tim has to say, he loves the Hammer films. All that stuff. And we had it. And it was the whole movie was kind of monochromatic. It was like that, no color, black and white. It was colorful, but the reds really popped. The roses popped, the cardinal, things like that popped. Red was a big thing, that we played up. Funny thing with the blood was we started doing tests because they did something, I don't know what the process is, where they double print or something. I don't know what they double process or something, where the blacks are really, really deep and real black. And by doing so, the blood would get the normal colored blood would get very, very, very dark. So that blood in Sleepy Hollow, I'm not kidding you, is hot pink in person.
Wow.
It's hot pink. You look at it and go, this is ridiculous. But after this process and how Chivo was lighting it, looks like this really, like you said, like it's almost fluorescent looking blood. It just grabs you when you see it. That was fun to squirt on Johnny's face too when he's opening the Tree of the Dead. In fact, I was doing the first couple squirts, and then Tim goes, "Do a little bit more on the side." And I always do this because I know the directors love it. I just go, "Here." I give him the bottle. I go, "You go ahead." And he goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." So he just starts trying to squirt him right in the eye and stuff like that. So Tim started doing the blood from then on. He's like, "I want to do it." I go, "Great, do it." I trust him because, he's an actor, artist, he does all that stuff himself. And so,
Right.
cleanup's a bitch for take 2, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Charles, you want to ask about adaptation?
I did want to ask about adaptation. So you made the body prosthetic on Nicolas Cage for adaptation?
Yeah. He called me and said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to gain any weight. And I said, that's actually my Keanu Reeves impression too. I do both. He said, I just don't want to do it. I got the teeth, Peggy. I'm doing Peggy Sue got me. My wife was in that too. We watched that the other night. I love Nick Cage's performance in that. It's just hilarious. Anyway, I'll go into it. But he called and said, "Listen, I don't want to gain the weight just for health reasons. I know De Niro did it for Raging Bull, but I don't want to get into that situation. What can you do?" And I said, "Well, that's a big challenge because you got to make it believable. Again, it was before silicone had totally. We had done the bodies are silicone that we did for Face Off and stuff. It was around the same time. So, but we just didn't have it fully down for makeups on people, and plus it's kind of delicate and it can get quite heavy and stuff like that. So we went with foam latex. So anyway, he wanted to do this, and so he said, I don't want to tell Spike Jonze, the director, I don't want to tell him what I'm doing until it's too late. He thinks I'm in it, and Spike was married to his cousin, right? Yeah, his cousin, Francis's kid. Yeah, so they're family, and he said, I just don't want to tell him, so let's just keep it quiet. So I went. So I guess 3 or 4 weeks before we showed up on set, Spike found out. But anyway, the challenge was to make this realistic-looking heavyweight thing. I mean, we had to punch again all the hair in the chest. We had to weight the foam latex. We had to cut sections out and weight it so it would jiggle. We did make under costume silicone versions that would jiggle and bounce that he would just throw on like a bathing suit, kind of a one-piece bathing suit kind of thing that he would throw on that would go underneath his clothing. But then there's that one scene, I think, where his brother catches him. He's in the room, playing with himself or whatever he's doing. And so he sits up and you see it there. And that, so that was the big challenge, was to make that look as realistic as we could. But, and it was a whole wraparound piece that, kind of blended off at his collarbone and then it wrapped around his back. And it took about, I don't think, maybe 3 or 4 hours. Then we also, the makeup artist and his makeup artist and hair person did a great job on making him look bald and all that stuff. And they did that throughout the whole film. Yeah. The two brothers that don't exist. Yeah. Well, one doesn't exist. Yeah. The Kaufman Twins.
So were they upset when they found out he was not going to actually gain the weight?
No, but then when he found out, he's like, I have to. We were getting close to finishing, and he was like, Nick could do anything you want. I mean, Nick was in Face Off. I remember we were putting this. I was putting this makeup on, just me and him in the trailer, and the one that after he removes he wakes up and he's got no face, and he gets a hold of the doctor, Dr. Walsh, and he just started writing lines. Like he would ignore what was in the script, which was, I've had discussions with the writers about this. They say, yeah, it was a nightmare because he would change things and he'd leave out information sometimes.
Oh no!
But he would just be like, what should I say here? He said, maybe, Mr. Walsh, good job. Whatever, and he would just make up these things, And anyway, why did I mention that? I can't remember why I mentioned it. Why don't I go back to Face Off? Anyway, so talking about adaptation, it's the same kind of thing. He would just do it, and you kind of had to put up with what he was a big star then. He was like, do whatever he wants. That's true of anybody. Keanu is the same. If Keanu wants to do this, got to do it. Don't make any waves. Okay, fine. So he with this thing, he just did it. Then Spike found out, and then he would call my shop and say, I need to see what you guys are up to. And I said, we're almost done. I'll bring it to you. And I kept delaying it. So finally we just showed up on set, and thank God it worked, because he was, and he came in the trailer and went, okay, this is going to work. But he was nervous, like everybody. He was saying, what if I came in with a, big purple looking chest or something and completely screwed it up? It'd mess his film up.
Right.
But he was cool. He was cool with it after he saw it.
Do you still have those John Travolta and Nicolas Cage robots from Face Off?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. When the whole COVID thing is over, you guys can come by and take a look at them. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And they still work. The chests have balloons, like basically balloon bladders in them, And there's like one side of John, I think, that still works. But the twitches still work. There's some things have gone out on them. But those things are like 20, God, I want to say they're over 20 years old. They're like 25 years old, something like that. Yeah.
That must have been a fun movie to be a part of.
Oh, it was great. And that was really fulfilling because it was, I did all the work. Again, John Woo was just let me do my thing. It's great when people just leave you alone. I mean, I understand when people want to be a part of it. Sometimes they want to be a part of it. Sometimes they don't trust anybody, so they don't trust you, what you're doing. They have to come by and see it every 5 minutes. But it's great when you're left alone to create, and they really look forward to what you show them. And so John Woo was like that. And so we came to set, and they came in and saw the things they couldn't believe. They were just like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And then they said, oh, actually, I'm sorry, before. This is the story. Before we actually brought them to show John, we had them in there. The producer came by and saw them. And then they said, listen, Nick's got some things to work on. He has a hairpiece. He had a hairpiece at the time, and same things had to go on. That it takes he's about 2.5 to 3 hours in the thing. While he's in the makeup chair, can you bring his body on and just lay it down there? We're going to light it because it's similar in tone and all that stuff. I said, sure. So I thought, it's a great opportunity. So I laid it in there, had all the puppeteers turn them on, and they went around the corner. We all hid around the corner. We could still see what was going on. John Woo comes in, and the producers and everybody, and they look across and they stop because they didn't want to go close to him because it looked like he was sleeping, and they thought it was Nick. And they go, oh. So they didn't even approach him. They didn't come over and examine him, or they just went, oh, is he getting into character? Because he's that kind of actor. He'd come to set on Peggy Sue and he'd be in character. So they just wanted to leave him alone, and they stayed maybe 6 to 8 feet away from it. I mean, it still holds up, I think, in close-ups, but they just kind of left him alone, and it was great. It was, and we all came out and said, no, this is the fake body. They were like, what? And then later, I get to do all the close-ups, like the massaging of the face, and I do all the cutting of the hair, all that stuff, all the close-ups of the faces when they're being prepped for the operation, like the little thing, that little laser that cuts the face off, and they wanted to do a dissolve from the skin going onto John's muscle face, and then I massage it in. It's actually the doctor massaging it, but I'm playing him. And when they saw that in dailies, the DP just said, why are we doing this big $100,000 visual effects dissolve shot? This looks fantastic. And they cut it out. Which was great because I was losing a lot of work to CGI computer guys.
Right.
So to have one back for the makeup effects practical team was so great. And the guy walked in, we were good friends. He walked up and said, hey, he said, thanks, you just cost me about $100,000. I said, what? He said, your stuff is so good. We didn't have to. Yeah. That's a little braggy thing.
That's awesome.
Not to brag.
Was that Oliver Wood was the DP on that?
Yes,
one?
Oliver Wood, yeah. He also shot Bogus Journey, Oliver Wood.
Yeah.
Too. I love him. He was great. So, I mean, you get these, and that was a film, Face Off was a film that just was, it was just work hard, 3 months of hard work. We did a bunch of other stuff in that film. And then you go to set, it shoots for 3 weeks, and you're gone, meaning everything works like clockwork. Nothing went wrong. There was no attitude. The producer was a friend of mine. It all just worked out. Barry Osborne is great. He went on to do Lord of the Rings, a small film called Lord of the Rings. Yeah. And but in New Zealand, but it all just worked out great. It was just a happy time, and those are rare in the business because there's so much ego, really, and there's so much money to be lost or made. So it gets very, very tense, and everyone's they want to direct. Everybody wants to direct. I've had studio heads that wanted to direct almost. You could tell the way they talked to me. I was directing. They wanted to direct themselves. And you have these battles all the time. And it's great when you get people, that trust each other and it all gels. I'm sure, feel like Ron Howard had almost worked on Cat in the Hat, but I feel like he would be a great guy to work for. It just seems like really pretty mellow. I've worked with him a little bit on Cocoon and some other things, but just that, you just want that nice gelling thing that happens and everyone lets you do your job.
Right.
Yeah, I don't understand the filmmakers that seem to think that fire can only be produced by friction.
Right.
It seems like people have perfectly nice times on movies and the movies turn out great. Yep. Like Face Off is a masterpiece. Yeah. And, that's that.
Yep, that's that.
I know we're running out of time, but Charles, we got these big questions we got to ask.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, your beard is amazing. Your hair looks great. So the first question is, can you rank Tom Cruise's hairstyles in the Mission Impossible movies?
What do you mean rank them?
Well, I mean, some people
What's your
prefer the
favorite?
short hair
Oh.
of one or the
Well,
long hair of two, you know?
I actually like, for me, I kind of saw him. I thought, well, that long hair's kind of cool, that in part two, and it does give him a completely different look, and I like the change.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm a real short hair. I think Ethan Hunt has to have a short hair. I don't know why. He just looks like more like I don't know. In the first one, I think it was pretty short, was it not?
Yeah, it was
pretty
like, that's
short.
the shortest, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of like that, And then there was. Let's see, the other ones I don't know, medium. And then as he gets older, it's always tough for actors because again, he's my age. You get the folds and you get the little jowly things happening, And he had such a great jawline, and so that starts to you get mushy looking. I say, and I can only say that because we're the same age, and I'm mushy. So I used to have a great jaw now. Now I'm covering it all up with this thing I'm pretending is a beard. But I didn't mind part two. It was a different look, as far as his hair goes. But I'm a short hair for that character. I feel like it.
Okay.
What about you guys?
Yeah, we like the short hair a lot, but not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
He kind of brought the long hair from 2 for 4.
Yes.
It's not quite as long, but
Yeah,
it's,
yeah. Three I thought was a decent level.
Yeah,
wasn't
that was
it?
a good length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like
Kinda
1
split the
and
difference.
3 are the shorter ones. I think 6 is
Yeah.
on the shorter side too, but not
Okay.
quite as short.
Yeah.
How many are we at? 8 now? What are we at?
They're
7?
about to make 7 and 8.
Yes, 7 and 8. Yeah.
So obviously the next question, can you rank the movies in your order of preference?
Again, I'm kind of like a fan of the first one because it is the first one. It's like the Child's Play movies for me. I love the experience, and I like the film Bride of Chucky. I liked it because there were 2 characters, they were interacting. I like that a lot. It's really I lean to that as the favorite of the sequels. But
What did you think of the new Child's Play, by the way?
I only saw little pieces of it, so I actually haven't.
The robot is not as good as the one you made
Yeah,
however many years
30
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
30 years ago. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I was actually talking with Don Mancini, the creator of the show, and David Kirshner, the producer, about doing the new series Chucky with them. And we got into talks, and I made a money deal. It all looked like it was fine, but I said in order to make this money work, because money was low, I got to take original Chucky parts and use them. But I still own them, just like I did in my first contract. And Universal wouldn't budge on that. They said, no, we want to have it. And I said, no, I'm making this. I'm coming back as the guy that's going to do. You can use it in your advertisement. Hey, the old team is back. Everyone's back.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm going to give him the look that he had. I'm not going to go with the Curse of Chucky. I'm not going to do that look. I'm going to do my look. They wanted that. The fans want that. So I was in talks. Everything was looking smooth, and I don't know. This doesn't seem like it's going too smoothly. And then we got to the point where I said, okay. And this one production manager I was talking to, he knew that I had to use Chucky parts. I said, these are mine. No, we'll give them back to you. But after 11 years of the series, like the way that the contracts were, there was just stipulations where they could keep it forever, basically. It's just the way that it was worded, and I tried to work it out, and I had to walk away, unfortunately, because I'm not about to. I mean, I don't need to do another Child's Play film, but I'm not about to give them things that I own that are movie history from the first film. They're talking about things from Child's Play 1. They would be now taking forever, and I thought this is not what I thought it was going to be, so I had to walk away.
It seems like that whole thing is such a weird rights quagmire between who owns the Child's Play name and who owns Chucky. And
and they could only use the name. Like, his name is Buddy, I think, in it, isn't it? Is it
in the
Buddy?
new one?
Yeah, the new one. And I thought this is going to be they tried to do it with Nightmare on Elm Street without Robert, and it just didn't work. That actor's great who played Freddy.
But there's only one Freddy.
There is, and it's just you have to. I mean, or you hire somebody that mimics him perfectly or something. I don't know, but And the same thing with this. I mean, people will still go see it. Chucky's fans are they don't care. A lot of them and then a lot of them do care, but they. So I don't know. But as far as back to Mission Impossible.
Sorry.
Were we ranking the film? Was that the?
Yeah, we're ranking them.
Yeah, I would say again the first one. I do like 2. A lot of people say I don't like 2 very much. Or somebody said that to me. I actually like 2 a lot, and I dig 3, and then the rest of them kind of blend together for me. As far as they're always good, but I would say. 2 because I'm biased because it's a film I worked on with John Reeves. So, and I like the style of that. He always puts white doves in everything he does. He always does this John Woo style, that I love. But I definitely like 3 too, so I don't know. Hard to say,
right.
but I would say 1, 2, 3.
Wow,
Just like
okay. I think you're the first person to say that.
Hey, really?
Yeah.
Hey, you change rooms.
I did change rooms. Yeah, I lost the internet connection. I had to come here.
Oh,
wait. So
you were in a kid's room a minute ago.
I was in my.
I saw dolls on the wall.
And I'm trying to.
Of course,
get the
I got
internet
dolls
to
on
work.
my wall. I got dolls on my wall too.
Wait, so before you go, I have to ask
Yeah.
you about just like because to talk to the creator of the Chucky doll. I mean, like, how did that? Where did that come from? I mean, did you design with? I mean, was Brad Dourif? Like, how did he get involved? I mean, I'm just curious about the process of the Chucky doll.
It all starts with the script. It's always like the script. So we get that, then I immediately had a meeting with David Kirshner, and David came from a toy background. He had worked for, I don't know, it wasn't Mattel. He had worked for some company. I think he was helping develop Strawberry Shortcake, which is this little girl's line of toys and stuff like that. So he had a huge, he had a lot of ideas he wanted to put in. They had gone to a guy named Chris Wallace who had done the original Raiders of the Lost Ark, all the melting down faces at the end of Raiders. And they had him do some tests. Rick Baker actually was a makeup, Rick, but he recommended me for the job. So I brought, when David came over, I showed him, I did this Freddy snake for Nightmare on Elm Street 3, this big talking Freddy head. And I turned that on and I, moved that around and had all the animatronics, and Dave was like, that's what we need. This is what we need. So we got along great. And then it just came, we had meetings with Tom Holland. I didn't get to meet Don, or John LaFia. By the way, who just passed away a couple months ago. But I didn't get to meet those guys until part 2. And John LaFia directed part 2. Tom Holland kind of kept them off the set. And I don't know because Tom wrote his own version. I loved the other guys' versions. It was great. But Tom rewrote it and brought all that voodoo stuff into it and stuff like that. But yeah, so and then it just goes through like was it John LeCure? I can't remember his last name, but he was the production designer. So we'd have these meetings. It was like working at Mattel. I would sculpt a little maquette, and then we'd start talking about it. And then David gave me a sketch that he had made. So a lot of times I hear he claims to have designed it because he did a little pencil sketch, but his pencil sketch came in later as we were already starting the sculptures, actually. But I had to bring in that sculpture. And back in the day, now we use a red clay and white clay, different clays. We still use a green clay, and it was a green-gray clay. And we used to use eyeball forms would be pink. They'd be made out of dental acrylic, like the gum-colored dental acrylic. So it looked very strange to see this sculpture of Chucky, with green skin and pink eyes. So when there was a doll at the time called Corky, and Corky was a talking animatronic Teddy Ruxpin type of doll that you could put a tape in the back and talk to him. So They kept saying, "Oh, it's got to be as cute as Corky. It's got to be as cute as Corky." So I kept, we bringing in Corky, sitting next to the Chucky sculpture. They were just, "No, it's just not cute enough." And I knew it was cuter. I just knew I had dimples. I had different things in Chucky that I knew that was cuter than Corky form-wise, but they couldn't see it not being really artist or anything. So I went back and I took my Corky that they'd given me, and I tore out all his hair, painted him green, stuck pink eyes in, came back in. Didn't do anything to the sculpture and said, okay, which one's cuter now? Because this is Corky now, and this is the Chucky sculpture. And they saw that the Chucky was, at that point, was cuter. So it was like you have to kind of win your battles and kind of push your way in and kind of fight for what you know is right and stuff like that. So it just went through a lot of people had influence on it. But I think, that we kind of designed it sort of looking like that Corky doll. So at the time, it's just a lot of different things, and then my own, just making it as cute as I possibly could. And that was just the toy version. And then we had to take it, and then you mentioned Brad Dourif. He, his look, his ice cold blue eyes, I said, that's great killer looking eyes. Let's use that. So we say, okay, we want to take Chucky from a doll, and Corky had brown eyes, to Brad Dourif's blue eyes. Let's start with like a baby blue, sky blue eyes, and more royal blue kind of almost, and then slowly fade them and make them more human, because he had to go through 5 different stages till he's got the Brad Dourif Jack Nicholson hairstyle, hairline, right? And he had almost like a 5 o'clock shadow too. He kind of subtly put that in. We darkened his eyes, his circles around his eyes, made him look as old as we could with still having here he is back here, having still being a doll. he still had to look like the doll, but it sort of changed. So, and that's
Right.
my favorite stage, really. Besides that, of course, everyone loves the good guy doll, but that was my favorite stage because it just looks more menacing. So yeah, and of course we take all of our actions, all our acting. I got to sort of be the acting coach / Chucky actor. Like I would act it out for the puppeteers, and then I would have to coordinate 7 people. Really tough on the fourth one because there was 2 characters. I had to coordinate what Tiffany did and Chucky did.
Right.
And it was acting because you're acting and you're acting coaching. You're trying to coach everybody, and to pull that all together was just very, very tough. But anyway, yeah, it was tough to work to get his look down. You have to please 7 or 8 different people.
Right.
So it was like working at Mattel or something, like a big corporation.
It's truly remarkable work. I mean, I revisited the movie just in the last year, and it just still lives up. I mean, it's timeless. Like it's unbelievable work. And just did you do it? I have to ask. In Dream Warriors, there's the like the veins or whatever are pulled. Is that in Dream Warriors? The one
that was my old boss, Greg Canham. He was the one that did that. I did Freddy's syringes. I did everything around Freddy. So I did Freddy's syringes. I did the big snake.
Oh yeah, okay.
When he sticks the syringes into her arm, when the little mouths start to open. That's Greg Canham. That was the same guy.
Yeah.
He did when the
Is that the one with the Freddy TV? The Welcome
Yes,
to Primetime
I did.
bitch?
Yeah,
Okay.
You did the TV?
I did that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Some of these gags are like, they're just, they're silly appliance. You're trying to figure out a way to stretch a foam latex appliance onto Robert's face and blend it in. It's just like, because he comes out, it's a vacuum form thing. It's the visual effect, the on-set mechanical effects guys did that. Well, I just pushed up a stiff head up through this TV, and then there's a dental dam latex rubber top, and they just sucked it down like a vacuum form thing and sucked down to Robert's face, and then cut back to her screaming, back to Robert, and now he's got this appliance, like a Kermit the Frog thing going on, right here. Things like that happen. I know Rick Baker had a struggle with that on American Werewolf in London when David Nottingham's in the floor, and he's got the long, elongated body of the werewolf. He's on his back now, and they had this to make a quick hide. They had to put something here, so they put a bunch of hair around here, and it looks like like a Kermit the Frog collar, and I kind of had to deal with that. And you just, you deal with it, and you go, I hope this looks okay. But a lot of times people aren't, they're into the moment and the joke. And then that was Robert comes up with a lot of those lines. Welcome to Primetime, bitch. That was Robert's.
I love
Clearly
Dream
made an
Warriors so
impression.
much.
Yeah.
So good.
It's funny with all these films, like horror films, there's a comedy and horror go hand in hand, And so they start with like in Child's Play, the first one. Like the only big laugh is when Chucky's left in the elevator. Man and woman get on, and then as they get off, the woman says, she just turns like, somebody left their doll here, and she says, ugly doll. And then as the elevator, Chucky's head just goes out of sight in the frame, and he says, fuck you, and that's and that got a huge laugh because it's like that tension release of a kind of a scary film, and you get as soon as you get a good reaction to a laugh, you think more of it. So the next film, and it's just all the Nightmare on Elm Street films got goofier and funnier, and
right.
It kind of went from horror to comedy, and they need to be careful about that, when they do
Right.
it, because it is needed in horror films, but you just don't want it to be suddenly a joke. And
Bride of Chucky, we're both big fans of Bride of Chucky. The comedy really works in that movie.
Yeah, it does. It does. I like when they're sitting back and they're talking about life and smoking cigarettes, and they're in the van, Yeah. And I just love that interaction between those two. And Jennifer Tilly and Brad both did stellar performances in that, as far as I'm concerned. They really did great work.
See, now do you understand why you are the legendary Kevin
I guess
Yagher
so.
now?
Sure.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad we've helped illuminate that.
Yeah.
And Kevin, thank you so much for being in the show.
Absolutely.
And please keep in touch, obviously. And hopefully we can bug you about monsters when this is all over and look at sleeping John Travolta.
Yeah, come by.
Okay.
We would love that.
We will.
You'll see all your favorite stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Kevin Yagher, we hate to see him go, but he was awesome. And we're going to go to his shop whenever this ends.
Oh my God, please.
That's for damn sure.
Can we?
We need to see those Nicolas Cage and John Travolta dummies breathing lopsidedly.
Yeah, those robots.
Yeah.
I love that they were using them as stand-ins on set.
Well, you know the scene he's talking about, right?
Which scene?
Where they're both in the coma, and they're kind of the doctor is kind of saying what's going on, how they're gonna swap their faces.
Right.
So that entire scene, not there. They were just they were.
Well,
in
no,
there.
I think he was saying that they were using them as stand-ins to light the scene, right?
Oh, really? I mean, they're in that scene for the whole thing. And also, if they do these great close-ups where you can see their eyes, rapid eye movement and all this stuff.
Of course, yeah.
It was all him.
So good. I was just saying that because he tells a story about how at one point they used the robots as a stand-in to light the scene before the actors came, and some people were fooled and thought they were real.
Oh, that's right. They thought that John Travolta was just asleep on a table.
Yeah. It's so good. I was also really sad to hear that he almost did the new Chucky series, but he's not doing it. That was a bummer.
Yeah, not happy to hear that, but he'll do something else that'll delight us, I'm sure. He seems semi-retired, so.
It was cool to hear him talk about Dream Warriors, which I assume you probably feel the same, that Dream Warriors is the best of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's really great. I love that he kind of, I feel like he got a kick out of us referencing certain gags and stuff that maybe he has completely forgotten about too. But that was fun. Welcome to Primetime, bitch, and all that stuff. So
yeah,
pretty awesome.
I didn't know that he had married the actress from the first Child's Play.
Yes, I think
you mentioned that, I think, in the first week's episode, part 1 of this interview, and I didn't know that, which is really cool.
Yeah, they've had a great life together. So I think we need to wrap it up, but you got some shout outs, Charles.
Yeah, a special thank you to Dustin Catalan. Couldn't do without you, Dustin. Thank you so much. And then also a thank you to our intern, Abby Smith, who has been really great for us, done a lot of great work for us. And then also this episode is mixed by Luke Burson, so thank you to Luke as well. And of course, you all should check out our Patreon at patreon.com/LightTheFuse. We're doing a lot of really great stuff over there. You're going to want to check out those episodes if you sign up at the bonus content level, or you can also sign up at the Skype chat level, where you can join us for a Skype chat every month, which is always a lot of fun. We get to know everybody there and talk Mission Impossible and talk about everything in movies, and it's a lot of fun. So you should definitely check that out, and I'd buy a shirt or a hat or a mask from our TeePublic page, which is linked from our website, LightTheFusePodcast.com, and like and subscribe, follow us on social media, all that good stuff. And what else? Anything else?
I think that's it. I think everybody just needs to subscribe.
Go see Bill and Ted. I guess don't go. You can't. Actually, no. I think they are going to play in some limited theaters, right? It's going to be maybe at some drive-ins and stuff, right?
Yeah.
September 1st, it comes out. So probably by the time you're listening to this, it's probably already out. And watch all 3 Bill and Ted movies. Celebrate the Bill and Ted franchise. And thank you to Kevin Yagher for finally getting on the show. We've been wanting to get him for so long. It was so great to talk to him.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you all so much. See you next week. Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at LightTheFusePodcasts@gmail.com. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.